Moving through the Friday undercard on Kentucky Oaks Friday at Churchill Downs, May the 3rd. We're up to race number 9 at Churchill Downs on Friday, the Grade 2 8 Bells. This is a really fun 7 furlong sprint, and I'm going to be joined by a good friend of mine, someone who I love chatting races with, a fantastic handicapper, fantastic gambler, excellent person, someone who is getting ready for some big racing out there in Minnesota. Angela Hermann, how's everything going on your end?
Hello. It's springtime finally up in Minnesota, and we're just a couple weeks out from starting off the live season. We're going to start on May 18th. So Derby is going to be a great lead up into it, a busy week out at the track. If you are in Minnesota, please come and join us for the big Derby party festivities that we have going on this weekend. And if not, take a listen. We'll try to give you some winners on the Philly side of things.
Angela's going to be doing double duty with me. She's going to help me with a race on Friday and also with the race on Saturday. And they're similar races. We're going to be talking about the really good, fast sprinting fillies in the 8 Bells, and then the fillies and mares on Saturday. We'll preview another race there. So we'll have Angela helping us out for Saturday and for Friday as well. So these 2 days of cards, Angela, sometimes they can come up where they're strong, but there'll be 3 or 4 stakes races where you get some short fields. You'll have a couple really, really short prices, overwhelming favorites, a couple races that aren't that bettable. From Friday to Saturday, this is one of the better 2 days, kind of top to bottom in real quality. It's strong.
It is very strong, and they're two of the most fun betting days of the year. And even if you get a little dismayed by some of the, shorter price horses that come in with the Derby and the Oaks, maybe in recent times, the undercard is full of opportunity. And you've picked a couple of races where, even though, there's some fillies that have good form to them and will be tough to beat, it's not like anybody needed points to get into any of these.
No.
You get some horses that might be diverting from the Oaks trail onto the 8 Bells trail, and you have a good mix of horses that maybe take their form from 3 to 4 in the Derby City Distaff. Both different sort of races, but similar conditions to them both. So I'm looking forward to talking about each of them.
Let's get into the past performances for race number 9 on Friday at Churchill Downs. And for all of you out there who want to follow along, make sure you get to drf.com and purchase those Kentucky Derby packages, all the different tools to help you out, Timeform US tools. We'll have the clocker reports available, and you just want to make sure you're ready for a couple really big days of racing as we get into race number 9. From a starting standpoint, kind of setting the scene of this race, from the inside, you have Impel. She came into the Ashland, and I thought she was a really nice 3-year-old filly that was going to be a major player in the Oaks, and still a very nice 3-year-old filly. But she kind of showed us in that race that she may have some distance limitations, maybe even class limitations, lost to a couple really nice horses there, but she's definitely going to be a major, major player in here. She does draw down towards the rail, so that is not always a positive. The other one that will take a lot of money is Denim and Pearls, who comes off of a really, really big win, Angela. She earned a 98 buyer speed figure when she won the Beaumont, and she makes a lot of sense too. You can look at her form and probably make multiple excuses for the Martha Washington when she finished second in the slop, and maybe it was going a little farther than she likes.
And not me talking to, but listening to Brad Cox after the Beaumont, she just didn't want to go that far. They were hoping that she would be an Oaks kind of filly because she had shown that quality in shorter races. But if that's not what she wants to do, that's not what she wants to do. She can obviously handle the 1 turn. She can handle 7 furlongs. And the way the Denim and Pearls finished off the Beaumont was just such an upgrade from what she had done at Oaklawn Park earlier in the spring. I would be very surprised if she wasn't the same price or, a good bit lower than her stablemate Impel, just by what they've put on the table thus far going 1 turn. You just don't have that much to work with Impel, just 1 sprint to her. But Denim and Pearls, in her couple of sprints, come out victorious and really took that step forward, drew further to the outside, and I think has a bit more in her favor as far as the barn mates go.
And between those two, it's intriguing from a tactical standpoint what I think Impel will do from the rail. She is cutting back from going a little bit longer, and she's not been like a real speedy runaway type filly. She's been one that wants to sit behind a target, even going shorter. She can sit close to really fast fractions, but I don't know if she's the type of filly that wants to just run away and hide from you. So I'm kind of curious what kind of trip she might get from down there towards the inside. Just hearing you initially, it sounds like you're a little higher on the 7 than you are on Impel here from the rail.
I would definitely say that I'm higher on Denim and Pearls. She's the one that I'm going to use on top. I might not use Impel much at all for some of the reasons you mentioned. She's towards the inside. And didn't you get the impression watching her 2 trips at Oaklawn and Keeneland that she was going to do the same thing at the end? And either she regressed, she couldn't handle the class race, or she just became one paced in the Ashland. And that's
I was
just
so
not what I want
disappointed
to
with
see.
it. And it's hard because I have such mixed feelings about it, because then you look back on paper and you go, okay, she ran 3rd, and the 2 horses that beat her are going to be 2 of the top 4 or 5 betting choices in the Oaks. But when you're watching it, she was getting such a nice trip and the jump on the others, and she just didn't have any response when Leslie's Rose and Just FYI kind of loomed up. I mean, she went from looking like she was traveling well, going to go on easily, to just empty quickly.
It was a bit underwhelming, I guess, watching her come down the stretch. I don't think, she didn't throw out the anchor
No.
necessarily, but with that sort of style, I would almost want to see more ground as opposed to a cut back to 7. If she does even out a little bit like that and she's on the inside, she might not be able to burst through horses the way that one would need to at a one-turn race as opposed to a route race. There's just too much working against her for the price she's going to be. I'm very inclined to fade her unless there's some scratches, some changes that would make it a smaller field, that would make it easier for her to navigate through. But she's got her work cut out from her for everything being as it is on paper right now.
Normally in a race like this, where you have a full field, you have a lot of sprinters, young horses, when I'm looking for prices in these types of races, I'm generally looking for closers or horses that are going to be passing horses. I wasn't sure or convinced that they were going to be smoking in here like they normally might be for this type of a race. I thought, our Harper Rose is a real key with what she does. She's drawn way outside, so that probably means they're going to really force her. I actually thought she's best when she kind of sat off a little bit. Like, her best race was in the Forward Gal, but I just don't know if they're going to try to do that. She's a little interesting just from a pace standpoint. The one that I thought could really outrun her odds, Angela, was Esternia, who I came back to. And I don't know if she's as good at all as the top 2 who we just mentioned. But if we're eliminating the more obvious horses, and now we're looking at the next tier, or horses that are bigger prices, you can look at her form and you can see her sprints to start were very good. She breaks her maiden on the grass. Then they try to go a little bit longer. And you can look, she was 50-1. She was behind a horse named Buchu, who came back and ran really well. Is going to run again this weekend. Following that, they tried long again, too far. Tried long again, just a little bit too far. You could see it. Cuts back, much more competitive. Now, this is a different level of class, but if the race shapes up where Impel's sitting and a lot of these horses are taking back, and there's only 1 or 2 horses that go, if she's one of those 2, I think she could outrun her odds.
I would agree that she could outrun her odds. I have seen Esternia. I've watched her races at Oaklawn. You can see a couple of horses in her recent lines, Extreme Smoke Show and Extreme Diva, who both started off their careers up here in Minnesota. And that was sort of a concern for me too, because if either one of those was in here, they'd be about 1,000-1. I looked further back at her races against Denim and Pearls, who might not have even been as good then as she is now, even though they were going a mile. I don't think either one of them was doing their best game. She
Nope.
still beat her both times. She beat her pretty clearly. And until she can really step up her game, which it doesn't look like she has, maybe a little, but not enough, I wouldn't put her ahead. I could definitely use her underneath. You're speaking my language with
it would
speed
be
horses.
hard. Yeah, it would be hard to. She's at the very least, we can map out like, oh, she should be in front of that horse, so she can maybe hang on for more of a slice, or there's at least a reason why maybe she gets in front of her going shorter. She can hold on a little bit better, and the margin won't be as much as it was when she lost by 7 and when she was beat by 8 lengths by Denim and Pearls. So, talk to me about some of the other horses after Denim and Pearls that are probably on your radar.
Well, I was going to talk about Esternia and mention
Nice.
the fact that I've seen her, and I will always lean towards speed horses given the circumstances. But 7 furlongs makes me look and see who's going to stay in here. If Esternia stays in, if Do Gooder stays in, if Our Harper Rose stays in, I can't picture one of them shaking clear of both of the other 2. So I'm drawn towards a horse that needs to improve, needs to run faster, but's more versatile. So that led me to Tanya Showers for the
Nice.
ranch fans and
Hmm.
Lady Moscato. And these two I know just plain need to run faster, but 7 furlongs could provide them the opportunity to do things a bit better than they've done at 6. They'll both be healthier prices. I think they'll both be coming. And just with this the odd set of circumstances that faces these, not too many of them have established form doing it. I'm more willing to take a shot with a closer that's going to keep going rather than ask a true 6 furlong filly to get another furlong and do it against top class horses while taking pressure. And all three of those fillies need more to go their way, I think, than a Tanya Showers or a Lady Moscato would. They just need the race to fall apart a little bit. Tanya
So
Showers was interesting to me just for how good she's been outside of that two-turn race against Impel. Even though it was a stiff beating, I thought that Tanya Showers rebounded well enough
yes,
and drew far enough to the outside and will be a good enough price where she might not be able to shrink the gap entirely, but she should be able to be a lot closer, and she's heading into things the right way. Irad Ortiz is going to be on board. She was the one that interested me the most as far as a horse to use underneath and pair with Denim and Pearls. Lady Moscato, on the other hand, gets Lasix back off, but the blinkers have been very helpful to her, and that blowout win last time around puts her into that category where, she's cleared her maiden specials, she's cleared her first condition. And really, if you want to discount the Ashland, Impel's in the same boat as the two of them, and she's going to be a fraction of the price. So, 3, 7, and 10 are going to be my keys in here. I will use Esternia. You laid it out. She isn't a need the lead kind of horse, but she has enough speed to make her own trip. I just hope that she stays at decent value. I thought she might get played a little bit because of her speed, but I am very familiar with that filly, and I'll be using her in my plays as well.
the one that I wish she was drawn more towards the outside is All Things Go. Because I'm just worried that she could get herself shuffled back a little bit with a lot of horses to her outside. They add the blinkers on and she cuts back. Her debut race, I'm not sure exactly who she beat, but she did it in a real professional way. First time out, she sat nicely, just a couple lengths off the pace, moved to the lead. That was going 6. Then they stretch out and they try the fantasy, and she didn't have the best of beginnings, and she ran into Torpedo Anna, who freaked that day, won by 4, earned a really big speed figure, and Torpedo Anna is going to be one of the top choices in the Oaks. If she was just drawn more towards the outside, I would like her opportunity to work out a better trip. I'm worried that she's going to probably have to use too hard early and down inside, but she's a horse on my radar for some race that down the road where she could get a trip. I think she has some ability here, and I like her much better sprinting than trying to go longer. So some of these 6, 7 furlong stakes races, keep an eye on a horse like this, All Things Go, for a race at some point. Like if she runs well here, a nice third or competitive 4, something like that, we'll know this is where she belongs. And she might have just run into horses that are a little bit farther along than her here, like a Denim and Pearls.
And nothing wrong with finding out exactly where your filly does fit in the scheme of things. When you realize she can hang with this group, you just don't know
Mm-hmm.
exactly what she's best at yet. She's only 2 starts deep into her career. But the fact that she and Impel, with a combined 5 starts, drew the inside 2 posts in this full field is just naturally a concern. And
For
like you
both
said,
of them, yeah, the
right,
trips they can
if they
get,
were
like they're not seasoned enough to have experience.
right, it favors more horses that drew to their outside. All of them have more experience than she does. So there's just a lot of things working against a filly that might not be the price that she should be. If you're going to give her versus Esternia in the same neighborhood, I'm taking the 6. I think that they bring a similar profile, at least where they might be early to the table, but I think that the outside one is going to be a little bit better price.
So we both feel like the 7's the horse to beat in here, Denim and Pearls, just because of the trip, the draw. I guess I would be. I'm not as concerned about the bounce with her for a few reasons. One, she could regress a little bit off of her speed figure and still win. That wouldn't bother me, but mainly because of the trip that she gets. She's the type of filly where when horses that are really fast and run off and then get big speed figures, I kind of worry a little bit about it. She just sort of stalks and pounces nicely, and then she presses the button, and then she just sort of draws off. I'm not as worried about it with her. Could it be a factor? Sure, always. But of the two that might take money in here, we were both much more in the corner of Denim and Pearls.
Agreed, 100%. I think that a lot more is in her corner for two fillies that are going to be similar in price from the same barn, no less.
So there's a look at the 8 Bells, which is race number 9 on the Friday undercard for the Kentucky Oaks. Since we're talking about Friday, let's pull up the field for the Oaks, which is a good one, Angela. They have a 7-2 morning line favorite. There are 5 horses between 7-2 and 5-1. And then you have another kind of tier of really fun live long shots that people are talking about, like Power Squeeze, who just loves to win, and Where's My Ring, who just broke her maiden, but her figures really stack up well with this group. There's 7 with the short prices and then those 2. So half of the field at the very least are top tier contenders. It's about as good of a renewal of the Oaks as you could ask for.
And definitely an interesting betting race too, because you can poke holes in a lot of the favorites, even just the post positions. You can find reasons to play against a lot of the horses that are going to take money in here. If you can just hone in on 1 or 2 long shots, I mean, kind of similar to the tactic that we used before, there's viable options in here that won't be prices like this at all in the near future.
Because how many horses want the same trip in this race? Want to just be sitting right off and between, the 3, the 5, the 7 is going to be more forward. The 8 wants to be real close. The 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, all want similar trips.
Yeah. It could result in some very wide trips for the last couple that you mentioned, but it's so fun to handicap races like this. And they're still learning and they're still developing into the horses that they're eventually going to be. And even if they've had one particular style up until now, some are only 4 or 5 starts deep into their career. That is the fun of trying to predict where they're going to go next and who's going to take the next step forward. I've been kind of riding with Ken McPeak and Brian Hernandez through some of the preps with the males, with the females, and Torpedo Anna is probably where I'm going to land in the Kentucky Oaks, admittedly. I don't even know if I'll get 5-1. She might even get bet down from there, just given her record at Churchill and the way that she came back off the bench in the fantasy. But the way that she's been showing up in the morning, just the fact that she is fairly fresh compared to some of these, and that she is more versatile. She can come from downtown if need be. I really, really like the position that they put her in as a fresher horse in the Kentucky Oaks, and I'm going to take her probably on top.
And if they all do try to look for that same trip, she's drawn to the inside of a lot of them. She actually could get a nice trip sitting just off the pace, a few lengths behind. And I was so impressed with her. She's going to be in all of my exotics as well. Torpedo Anna in the Oaks. So you have some stuff coming up this week, right? Leading into Derby and Oaks. What kind of content are you going to have out there? Any kind of race previews, videos, anything like that?
Yeah, we're going to be looking at the Oaks and the Derby, Kevin and I, and we're going to have a seminar on Thursday night and talk a little bit more in depth about things. If you have been to Canterbury College before, make sure that you sign up for that and come and see us on Thursday. We'll put out some different previews of different things that are coming live at Canterbury, some of the specials that are going on there, some of the activities we're going to have, and we'll put out some picks. I won't tease any more of the sequences that we're going to look through. But yeah, keep an eye on Canterbury Track Flack, that is Jeff, and Canterbury Parks feed as well, because we're going to be putting out things probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we'll be open all day long. Anybody who wants to come and check it out, ask, give me some hell about these picks that I make, whatever you want. It's a really fun weekend. And like I said, we open up in a couple of weeks, so it's kind of mounting the excitement for our live opening day.
So for those of you who are listening to the Friday portion or maybe just watching this video individually, Angela's going to help me out with previewing a race for Saturday. We move from the 3-year-old fillies to the older fillies and mares. We're going to talk about race number 6 on Saturday, a really nice grade 1 sprint in the Derby City Distaff there. So looking forward to that one. We'll talk about that race, and we'll also get some of Angela's thoughts on the Derby in that other video. So thanks everyone for hanging out with us. You'll hear a little bit more from Angela in just a minute. That's the end of our preview for the 8 Bells. Good luck on Friday playing the Oaks.